Hello. A few days ago I opened my Bible at random and I came to the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 16, verses 13 to 31. Verse 13 contains the phrase, "Ye cannot serve God and mammon." Mammon means materialism and money. And verse 15, "That which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God." And then the chapter goes on to tell the story of the rich man and Lazarus, the beggar. After death, Lazarus is in the bosom of Abraham, but the rich man is in hell. And he calls to Abraham, asking him to help. First he asks him to help him, and then when that's not possible, he asks him to send Lazarus to his brothers to warn them about what will happen if they place riches first. So I'll read also verses 27, 28 and 31 here. "I pray thee therefore, Father," that is Abraham, "that thou wouldst send him," that is Lazarus, "to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. And he said unto him," that is Abraham, said, "If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead." Now this is interesting because, as we know, Jesus also raised another man called Lazarus from the dead, and Jesus himself rose from the dead. So he is saying that such a huge dramatic thing as the resurrection cannot convince people who serve mammon, those who care most about money and material goods. In the earlier part of this same chapter, he talks about how cheating and deviousness are valued among those who serve mammon, in the parable of the unjust steward. Evidently, people in Jesus' day were exactly the same as they are now. They all wanted money and valued those who got it by whatever means. When I was a child, certain men and a few women were considered to be heroes. They were often men who had gained military glory, such as Nelson and the Duke of Wellington. In my opinion, these were not good role models. But there were also people of great moral character and fortitude. For example, Abraham Lincoln and William Wilberforce, for their roles in the abolition of slavery. Or Florence Nightingale, for her dedicated work as a nurse and her fearless disregard of her own safety. And of course, people had a higher opinion then of biblical heroes such as St. Paul. Who are the heroes of our present society? Without exception, I suggest, they are those who have attained money and fame. It's not important how they achieve this. Politicians, footballers, film stars, businessmen, TV presenters, winners of Big Brother, musicians, chefs. With the money, they can have plastic surgery and can wear expensive fashionable clothes and can fulfill our image of the perfect person. Their lives are what is referred to as aspirational. The vast majority of people want to be like them. Look at the number of people who enter for talent shows like American Idol or in Britain The X Factor. When interviewed as to why they entered, they usually say they want to be famous. Or even more worryingly, they want to be somebody. They're fed up with being nobody. To God, everyone is somebody. We are all of equal value. The idea that a film star is in some way superior to a factory worker is completely against everything that Jesus says. And in this passage, it's clear that Lazarus, who put religion first, has far more true riches than the rich man who put money and high position first. But I want to focus now on the last few verses, where the rich man asks that Lazarus be raised from the dead and sent to his brothers to warn them that they are prioritizing the wrong things in life. Of course, this is not done. Lazarus is not raised. This Lazarus is not raised. It is the Lazarus, the brother of Mary and Martha, who is raised by Jesus in another passage. Abraham tells the rich man that they have Moses and the prophets to tell them what is truly valuable. But the rich man still believes that the sight of a dead man returning would really convince them. The apostles must have thought this too. On the day of Pentecost, they rushed out into the street, telling people that Jesus had risen. Before this, they had lacked the courage and strength of the Holy Spirit. But even then, not everyone was converted. If you are a dedicated servant of Mammon, you don't want to hear about anything that contradicts your worldview. You don't want to hear that money and fame are valueless, but they are. Why is it important to be on TV or in the newspapers? Why does it matter whether people have heard of you? When we die, we are all souls. The question then is whether we have focused on God and on Jesus or on other trivial things. In Victorian times, people used to say that your last words or your last thoughts before death determined what happened afterwards. I think this is too simplistic, but the general idea has some validity. If your mind is constantly full of Jesus throughout your life, what will you be thinking about on your deathbed? As naturally as breathing, the thought of Jesus will come to you. You will leave this world willingly, with the thought that your time here is finished, and the next face you will see will be that of Jesus, welcoming you to your true home. What will be the thoughts of those whose minds have been filled with money and fame? Verse 15 says, "That which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God." There are no TV sets or celebrity magazines in heaven. And instead of a physical makeover, we should be thinking about a spiritual makeover now, before it's too late. For as Jesus says in another passage, "Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also."